Unless you have been living in a cave, it's no longer news that the US government has banned the Chinese manufacturer, Huawei Technologies. But why was this decision made? What are the consequences of this decision? And will the US ever lift this ban? The United States placed Huawei on an export blacklist in 2019, banning the telecom giant from buying components and technology from US companies without US government approval. Despite having been the third largest smartphone manufacturer in the world for many years, Huawei has recently found itself in trouble. Its sales are falling and its market share is shrinking. Its operations in Europe have also been affected by US sanctions. The US government has taken steps to stop Huawei from acquiring American technology. It has also placed restrictions on the sale of Google's Android mobile operating system to Huawei. This has prevented the company from making any purchases of high-end chips from American suppliers. As a result, Huawei has lost its market share for telecoms networks. This has resulted in a drop in sales of about 40% in the fourth quarter of 2020. In addition, Huawei says its market share for smartphones has sunk to just 9.3%. Its stockpile of chips is also expected to become scarce. At this point, I would like to specially invite you to subscribe to the Escapades Media channel and turn on the notification bell. You'll enjoy our mini documentaries on entrepreneurship, brands, and wealth creation. The US sanctions on Huawei. During the past few years, the Chinese firm Huawei has been under a lot of scrutiny. While the company is a global telecom supplier, it also faces numerous criticisms for cybersecurity, human rights violations, and intellectual property theft. In addition, its mobile phone business has taken a nosedive after the US sanctions. The US government has viewed Huawei as a national security risk. As such, the American government has used export controls to starve the company of American technology. The US Department of Commerce placed Huawei on its entity list in May. It also restricted American companies from selling certain technologies to this Chinese firm. The Commerce Department's sanctions also cut off Huawei from vital advanced computer chips. The company relies on foreign-made semiconductors to power 5G telecommunications gear. The slow collapse of Huawei. During the late 1990s, a young Chinese man named Dren deployed his staff to far-flung parts of Africa and South America. His strategy helped create Huawei, the first Chinese company to truly become a multinational corporation. In 2010, the European Commission began a preliminary investigation into the subsidies it said Beijing had provided to Huawei. It collected substantial evidence. The Chinese government provided financial support to Huawei by offering cheap credit from Chinese state banks. The company also received government grants of $235 million a year. Those subsidies were primarily directed at research and development activities. However, those subsidies paled in comparison to the benefits of protected access to China's domestic market. In the first half of 2022, Huawei's net margin dropped by 50% from the previous year. Its global sales of telecoms gear decreased by 7%. Will the US lift ban on Huawei? Despite a ban that has crippled Huawei's smartphone business, the company has been able to make some minor gains. Earlier this year, the US Commerce Department rolled out a licensing system for the Chinese tech giant, and it has received more than a dozen license requests. The new system enables US companies to work with Huawei on 5G standards. But the ban on Huawei phones is not going anywhere, and it will likely remain in place. During the US-China trade war, Huawei and other Chinese companies were subjected to various restrictions. One of the biggest restrictions is that American companies cannot sell Huawei products that are considered national security goods. This includes computer chips, which American companies rely on to power their products. Huawei is losing billions of dollars. Huawei posted revenue of $62.03 billion or 445.8 billion yuan for the first 3 quarters of 2022, 10 billion yuan less than it saw in the same period a year earlier, the company said on Thursday. Profits fell 42.45% in the same period to 26.75 billion yuan, based on Reuters calculations. A drop a company spokesperson attributed to investment in research and development and new business areas. Revenue for the third quarter alone came to 144.2 billion yuan, up 6.5% from a year earlier, based on Reuters calculations. Performance was in line with the company's forecast, said rotating chairman Eric Xu. Despite all the challenges Huawei faces, the company is still able to make a considerable investment in it and continues to expand its global business. It is also willing to work with the United States to resolve these issues. It seeks to make use of the power of technology to improve lives around the world. In the last few years, the company has enjoyed tremendous success in countries such as Egypt, Algeria, Cuba, and Ethiopia. It has also thrived in war-torn Afghanistan and democratic Senegal. In addition, it has carved a niche for itself in Ethiopia's state monopoly telecommunications industry. However, the company's global expansion plans faced a backlash in the United States. Former U.S. President Donald Trump issued an executive order that bans the use of telecommunications equipment manufactured by foreign firms deemed to pose a security risk.